Thank you. All right. Thank you guys all for coming. Really appreciate you guys taking your valuable time to come out here and hang out with us. Basically, what we're going to be doing tonight is we have two main things that we want to work on tonight. One of them is just the procedures of our evaluation so that we can talk about what we're doing and how we're doing it. And then we also want to have different perspectives of different people who have gone through the world of hockey with lots of different experiences and why they think or what they think about evaluations and why it's important. So to start with, before we get started, first off, I'm Christopher Long. I am the Vice President of Canmore Minor Hockey. We have a lot of board members here today. I got to say, I think our board is amazing. If everyone who's on the board, if they could just raise their hand real quick, just so I can point them out. So there's Kevin Smith over here. Who is that over here? I can't, I don't have my glasses on. Is that Laura? Laura. Jeff, who's our development. Tara Roberts, Dean, Mike, and Mike. And then we have Aaron, our operations. Did I miss anyone? No. So we're doing this because we want to really make sure that everyone understands how transparent we are. And also we want to make sure that we have the philosophy or you guys understand the philosophy of what the board has for evaluations. Before we get started, we're going to do our land acknowledgement. In the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth, we recognize that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Lefkabi, or Stonies, comprised of the Chiniki, Bear's Paw, and Good Stony bands. These mountain valleys and rivers have long been cared for and respected by the Stony people. We listen with gratitude to the ancestral stories of the land we share, and we recognize the opportunity to deepen our cultural understanding and appreciation. We also recognize our shared responsibility on this journey of truth and reconciliation. As players, coaches, and families, we are grateful to come together on this land to compete, learn, and grow on and off the ice, and we honor the spirit of sport, community, and respect. I'm good. Okay, so our agenda tonight, we're going to have four main things that we're going to be doing. First off, we're going to have a conversation with our guest speaker tonight, Gary Makar. We'll talk more about his story in a moment. After that, we're going to have me speaking for a few minutes about the kind of the procedures that we do. After we do that, we're going to have Andrew, Kevin, Jeff, if he so chooses, and Gary to share a little bit more about their perspectives on evaluation. And that's when we're going to have the opportunity to have that discussion. And then we're going to have questions. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions that are going to be coming up throughout the whole night. If you have those questions, please try and hold them until the end. Because we're going to allow all of our guest speakers to answer those questions as they so choose. If any of you have to leave ahead of the questions, we are recording it. You can come back and listen to it later if you want to. To begin with, I'm going to get Dean Irvine to come up. He's going to introduce Gary, and then we'll go from there.
Hi, my name is Dean. I'm the Cal director on the board, and I thought I'd spend just 2 minutes explaining how it is that we have Gary Makar here today. And I think it's an interesting background to see how this all played out. As you may or may not know, we have a number of hockey players in this community that play at really high levels, and they go to and try out for different high-level Hockey Alberta Cups, Prospect Cup, Alberta Cup, Alberta Challenge. And so last year, when there's a number of the kids, 13-year-olds, doing the Prospect Cup process, before they even had a chance to try out for the Prospect Cup from Hockey Alberta, they had webinars, mandated webinars that they had to attend online with Hockey Alberta administrators and coaches. And the one thing that they talked about on top of all of the other things that were important, the one piece that came out for me was that just because you make this team, if you do make this team, does not mean you're going to the NHL or going to be a pro hockey player. If you do not make this team, that's not a big deal, because your trajectory in hockey is developmental. And the bottom line on that one was development for athletes comes at different times at different rates. And so I heard the kids talking about this over and over. So I was sharing this story, which I thought was really interesting, with John Smith, one of our local coaches, community members. And he said, "Oh, yeah, I know Gary. I coached Cale Makar and his others, Gary's other son, Taylor. And I don't know what play where he actually was in all this. I'm like, I think he made some of this, and he was like, well, I'm just gonna ask Gary. Okay, that'd be great. Got a text back from Gary's, very poignant about Cale Makar's story and experience with making or not making teams. And I thought it was really poignant. So I asked John, do you mind if I if you ask Gary if he's willing to share this just this little blurb about what he said? Because I thought it was really important, because at that point we were talking about maybe having an evaluation meeting and having it public, and John said, well, no, actually, I think we can do one step further. I think Gary would be really happy to come and talk to you about this. I'm like, that'd be great. Okay. So here we are, many months later, lots of planning and figuring out, and we have Gary here as well as others to talk about in this case his story and his two kids' story, and to share his experience with you as parents. So I really appreciate you taking the time and effort to come and do this on our behalf. And without further ado, I introduce Gary Makar.
Perfect. Thanks very much. Awesome. We have some questions. I want to dive into some questions about the adversity that Cale and Taylor faced, because people say, oh my God, well, he was always made #1 team. He's everything. No, nothing was further from the truth. So some of those resonate, particularly with you young guys that are here, which is awesome to see you here. And honestly, to your board, to even having this event, you guys, give yourself a hand, but seriously, because just the openness to discuss this stuff, because everybody in this room is responsible for the hockey experience, not just the player, not just the parent, the coaches, the master administration, everybody's responsible. I'm on the board of Hockey Calgary, and last night we had a big major board meeting. We always have them before our evaluations for years. Pressure. But we solved the whole thing, because what we decided to do at Hockey Calgary in our 20-some rinks across is we are going to blast the song, "It's the most wonderful time of the year," so loud in every arena of the whole thing, because it really is, right? But I've been where you're sitting several times. I'm still where you're sitting with my son Taylor, being drafted by the Avalanche, going to his first training camp with a wrist that he can't quite use yet. And you just have to take a deep breath. So today I've been asked to talk sort of high level, sort of a mindset for hockey development, growth and learning. 3 things about sort of touch on long-term development, the bigger picture of hockey, not a marathon. It's a marathon, not a sprint, man. I guess most importantly, how you guys can support your child's hockey journey. For you young guys that are here, you're going to hear this from a perspective of the parents and the coaches and what they're kind of thinking, and it'll be great because you guys are guys on the ice that are having fun. So think of some good questions to ask, okay? I'd like to help you guys out too in that regard. But that word mindset, it's probably my most favorite word in the world, and it means everything different to other people. But I have this lifelong passion learning from severe mental health challenges I had when I was 23, and it's been my priority focus for my kids. And if there's a secret Makar sauce, which there isn't, there never can be, but it's the focus that we gave as a family that kids still do on this thing I call mindset. So I'm going to go through some of that right now. And I guess if I can say that this time well spent, when you guys leave this room, will be, geez, that old fart, he kind of made me pause and think and look in the mirror on the role that I've got to play in the best hockey experience possible for my kids. So to get right in this thing, I'm going to say, well, how are we going to do that to get you thinking? Well, I love this little statement, that stoic philosophy that you've seen on the Skip the Dishes commercials. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So how are we going to do that? You guys are here that we're about evaluations, you're going to be evaluating. Well, I think what we're going to do here is we're going to flip the script. And instead of looking at how we're going to evaluate those kids, we're going to kind of look in the mirror and go, how are we going to evaluate us as parents and coaches as well? So we're going to ask you to evaluate your development mindset. And don't freak out, there's not going to be a test, because I went, well, how can I communicate some of these key messages in a simple way to understand, so I don't look like an authoritarian automatic know-it-all up here, in some way that the board are things they'd love to say, but they might not be able to say. So I went, oh man, there's this thing called AI. That's incredible. And there's a bunch of platforms. So it was really fun because I took all these different platforms, didn't rock perplexity a whole bit. And I did different prompts on things from my philosophy experience, stuff that I thought was important. And I put this all together. The detailed reports are incredible. I absolutely encourage you, go on any platform. How do you be a good hockey parent and all this with all these things that are important? And you get some information, but you got to read through and analyze it. But then I took it further and I said, I can't present all that. It's a very informal thing. So I said, well, what if it's positioned in a way that the board of directors was sending out a letter? I don't know if they have. What would you say to these parents in the room to touch those points to start getting thinking? And unbelievable. I was very impressed, a few minor tweaks and stuff of the one that came out. So what I'm going to do is set the stage with this stuff. And you kids that are listening here, listen to this stuff as if I'm your teacher you like, of course, and see if it makes any sense. So you get this from Dean. He puts this out, okay? And again, they haven't done this before too, but how would we approach it? We have a similar thing, hockey cover. Dear Canmore hockey parents, listen to every line here. As we approach hockey evaluations, we know this can be both an exciting and stressful time, right? Kids want to do your best and often feel pressure about where they'll land. As parents, the best gift you can give your young athlete right now is perspective. Can't agree with that more. Okay, because evaluations, Dean will explain, are designed to place your players where they'll develop best at this point in time. It's not a statement about future potential or personal worth. Huge, huge thing. I get to speak for an organization called College Hockey Inc., which promotes NCAA hockey. That's my biggest message to these kids about to go into the draft. It doesn't matter where it is. It's when you get older and how you progress that makes a difference. So that's in the letter. Every child development path is unique, and their growth in hockey will be shaped much more by their enjoyment of the game and effort than any single evaluation or roster decision. Yeah, platitudes. Guys, it's true. Absolutely true. That's the biggest thing on that. It's a snapshot in time. And then the question, how can you help these parents? Here are some important ways you can support your child through this process. These are golden, they're true facts and positions. So try and just think a bit of this. Focus on effort and growth. Encourage your child to concentrate on what they can control. Hard work, energy, teamwork, and their attitude and mindset. Those are the real makers of success. That's inside your kid's mind. Does that come across if you're behind the glass going like this? Kids see that. See your mom and dad doing that. How does that affect stuff? Of course, they evaluate, of coordinated evaluations, and that body language, that things that you guys have in the crowd, massively important. So it starts with awareness. Second, validate their feelings. Kids may feel nervous, frustrated, even disappointed. Let them know it's normal to feel that way and remind them of resilience, guilt-free challenges. I'm so sick of this toxic masculine, you can't have feelings, you can't be nervous. Just get out there, give it the college try without. Nothing's further from the truth. It's on Cale in the NHL. They feel it, they hate it, they cry the whole bit. But you want to experience that. Don't avoid them the whole bit. The dads particularly, it's a tough man's sport, it is, but those feelings are up there for us to pick and choose, and the whole part of this growth is experiencing. It's going to happen. Parents, prepare yourself. I love the line in The Princess Bride, get used to disappointment. It's true. Why not think that if my son or daughter did make the one team, what am I going to do about that in advance? So start to middle that. Third thing on there, respect the process, which Dean's going to talk a little bit about. Avoid comparing your child to others or questioning, evaluating decisions, especially in front of them. That takes the pressure off the athlete, and at the end of the day is going to promote that healthy team culture. Just imagine, I've seen it a million times. It happens. We love our kids. We want the best for them. You didn't make the one. Well, Brad, those evaluators are stupid. They're just stupid evaluators. They didn't know what they were talking about. You were the best kid out there. Well, how does that help Brad? And how does that help you? You are the ultimate models of that. When you see that, you've told the kid that his success is based on your external evaluation, but you've told them that it's not fair. So you've put in his mind all these weird dynamics that he shouldn't have to deal with. He's out there just to try his best. So it's a huge message, and I can get very aggressive on that and questions if we want some more. This one, celebrate the journey. This isn't about participation medals, which are great. It's about the fun, but everything else you can get out of that sport and that experience. And so when this process ends, regardless of that, where you're assigned, it's framing that with your kids to continue to show that you're proud that they tried, because you set that stage for them, and that validation of where you're at is not reflection of who they are as a kid or where they're at. It's evaluators doing their best job to make a statement of it. It's happened. It's history now done. It's how you guys all react to your child, talk to them, and how you and your wife and whatever family goes home and discusses and says, what are we going to do about that? Because we're part of the whole thing. So they conclude the letter here. Ultimately, the best outcome of this season isn't a particular team or ranking. It's that your child keeps his genuine love for hockey and continues to grow in character, teamwork, resilience. Your role in reinforcing this development mindset message is critical. Thank you very much. Sincerely, Perplexity, President Canmore Hockey. Perplexity wrote that. That's AI with putting in some experience that can be an incredible tool, a learning tool that you guys all have at your disposal. And you'll hear the messages that the board's going to say, but just sharing the perspective on the evaluations and what they mean. If I leave with anything, it's a big, deep breath. And it's asking yourselves, why am I so concerned my kids on this team or that team? And really getting in your face, what is it that's making you want them on that team? And there's good, there's bad, there's ugly, but to do that exercise alone is really, I'd say, probably illuminating. So you've got the letter, but I think my own opinion of that, the line that Perplexity put out there for me, the most important line that I can stress from all of my experiences, that final line is, your role in reinforcing this development and mindset message is critical. And that's huge because everyone in this room is a model for the experience that we want our kids to have. And that alone, every mirror in your house you look at, the responsibility, the privilege of having that is immense. And it's us to control. It's putting it right back on our own shoulders saying, I play a role in this. The organization's job is to set up an environment, teach the coaches how they communicate the whole bit. We're all a massive part of that, of how we swallow it, how we use it, how we talk to each other about it. So that is it's a massive responsibility as a parent, and everybody should have their hands up saying thank you. That's a privilege because it goes really quick. Trust me. So the word in that is this development. It's all about development, and I hear that all the time, and it's great because everybody here probably say development has a different idea of what development is. And I got to speak at an NHL leadership convention in Boca Raton. My whole thing was, well, I want to create a new pillar of development on decision making and critical thinking to go with everything. And I used this quote because there was a fellow there, you guys probably heard this guy's name, Dallas Eakins. I don't know where he's coaching now, but he coached the Oilers, coached the Bucks. And he said this quote up there, I copied it down. And he says, he goes, it always amazes me the amount of time and money teams and parents invest in skill development. They get faster, stronger, heavier, lighter, smoother, work on your shot, your passing, your stick handling, taking more pucks on the boards, working in small paces, ripping that one-timer, etc. Sound familiar? His Dallas. But in the end, none of it matters at any level I've coached if the players don't have the mental skills, the mindfulness to develop their mindset, to question their behavior, to grow and continuously improve. And I thought, that's absolutely brilliant. And what he was doing, my whole reading and stuff, is he was basically playing on a massive old Stoic philosophy formula for this thing. And this little formula, which is so simple, but so complex, is kind of basically a simple thing for life. Growth and development. How does this relate to evaluations? Well, evaluations are an experience, and that experience is going to have good, it's going to have bad, it's going to have everything. In an environment of sport, which isn't life or death, that's what we all get to guide, mold, model what we want from that experience. That's all great. But if you go home and don't think about it or reflect on it, what's going to come of it? So these two little things are so deep because the mystery, the magic is you have all that experience with your son, your daughter going through this. Talk about it. For course, you guys talk about it, but when you're reflecting on what the heck happened there, including your kids, you're learning, you're growing, you're developing, which is gonna go like this, and it's never gonna be perfect because you never stop or wanna stop experiencing, and you never wanna stop about reflecting about it. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? Here's Dallas Eakins coaching at the highest level saying, this is the essence of the development. So when we say that word development, I think, myself included, when I'll go, you jump to skills. Well, we're gonna write another couple of words on the board here. That basically when we think of development, and he went on his presentation, he says, skills are one thing. Of course, you gotta skate, you gotta body check, you gotta pass. But what I really want to step back with, he goes, is there's more tenets to development. And the ones that he didn't claim credit for, and I love because I've read the same books, he has millions, he puts it down this thing that we can all kind of remember. There's this thing called 5 C's. And he puts his little 5 C's, his first one, competency, which covers all the skills and stuff. That's what us as parents should look at a hockey program. The kid's gonna get better in terms of whatever I want, our measure of success. Then goes this other C word, confidence, which is a small word, but it means so many things, encapsulating your mindset, encapsulate all those things, your self-esteem, your curiosity and stuff. That's part of development, not just skills. You're looking at this as a sport parent, I'd like my kid to come up more confident because if self-esteem, confidence leads to curiosity, no fear of failing. He puts the next one as character. Huge word, means everything to different, to everything. I can actually spell. The rest of the C, I didn't pass high school. Character, but it's like everything there, all of our values, the resilience, the stuff we want, huge that we get from this sport experience that starts with evaluation on some team by some coach that's going to coach us. This one, connection. Massive, particularly in this day and age where all of our brains are being hijacked by social media and stuff, the ability to connect. Sports is this face-to-face environment that we take for granted. Your kids with coaches, the stuff we're able to challenge, the stresses they're going to go through, talking, they're not on the phone, they're not that human connection that's going to serve you in wherever you go to. Huge thing as part of this program. And he finishes up with this massive word that means everything to everybody, culture, which is small and huge, and yet everyone here probably has a different definition, but that's on you to decide what makes a good culture in conjunction. So you look at these, and when you come in, want our kids to develop, it's always about development. That's why we chose the NCAA for Cale and Taylor. It's about development. What does that mean? You bet I want you to be better hockey players, but that whole experience, if you capture that, you're a better player, you're a better person, you get a better life. So that, and I'm sure you'll hear Dean speak about, is the challenge of what an association has to be the guys that create that environment, not just about making your kid a better hockey player, but this holistic way that says you're going to become better people. These are kind of some of the tenets, and I know this resonates with Andrew because I saw him on TV talking about the Eagles program. Just make a better player, make a better person. All of that comes through there. But that, we get to be part of that. And that's where the board and everybody has to go, gotta be aligned here, man. Moms, dads, kids, and kids, when you hear this, doesn't that sound pretty cool that you're not just there to learn to skate better, all those things, and parents are paying for it. So you go, that's the bigger picture when you think of development, is everybody in here to go going, why did I get my kid sport and enroll? And I hope these guys say, and there's no perfect answer. There's nothing ever perfect, but to say we're trying this because we understand if your kids are better people, they're going to be better athletes. And that, as I say, secret sauce from the Makar household is we had great leadership for some coaches. John Smith, who we pointed out, one of the guys forever grateful that taught our kids about adversity. You're going to deal with this stuff. But he spoke to him, he listened to him, that it's massively huge for that experience. And I'll give you one example to do this. So John is coaching Taylor. Her younger son, 24, drafted by the Avs, first training camp coming up, finished graduating school. And Taylor, he's full of piss and vinegar, John. That would be a good way to say it. Good hockey player, maybe the best in the team, the captain. But he's a big guy. Doesn't like guys running his teammates. Doesn't like that. He's a manly guy. He's going to crank him and stuff like that. He's doing it. He's doing it. And there's parents on the car right on your kid smacking that guy. Oh, that's not good. So John, because he's a bright guy, because he set the rules in advance, he comes and he talks to us in advance. Imagine this. That's Taylor to kind of cool guys. And I don't know what else to do. So if he does it again, I'm going to bench him. And I'm sure he's expecting, oh my God, Makar's going to hammer me. John, thank you. Unbelievable. Does the same thing with my wife, Laura, because she is a little bit more emotional than I am. But approaches are like that. Well, that's a coach that's doing it, setting some rules. Why? Because he knew what Taylor had in him. And, you know, love of a parent, love of a coach to say, you're better in this, buddy. And I have to have some consequences. It's not just all about fun. We got to have fun. Fun is one thing. And if we all just want to have fun, we miss out on all those other credible things here that we could learn. But that's what a coach, that's a mindset, that's a philosophy. And just meeting the short time with Dean and these guys, that's what your board's kind of trying to do. The hockey's not even important. I'm being honest, at minor guys. 15, 16, you start to get noticed. This stuff is about having your kids a mindset. They want to get better at getting better. And all this stuff, because that's going to make them better human beings, which of course they're going to excel in sport. So I look at that, and that's the environment I want to create. So I want to conclude this kind of by challenging, and there's always questions, but I always have this thing that whenever I coached all the kids that I coached throughout, I said, you point a finger at anything, yeah, just coach, whatever. 3 of them come back to you. Okay, so another way of looking at this, what's responsible? What can I do now? And how you do that is that reflection, but through questioning. So I want to put a few questions in your guys' brains that have you walk away out of here. And the big one, and it stops a lot of parents in their tracks, is why did you sign your kid up for hockey? And we all have a quick answer, but dig deep. Why did you sign your kid up for hockey? What experience are you hoping to achieve there? And go through that, heck, enter it in chat and see what it says and compare it. But discuss that because it kind of grounds that perspective. What benefits do you want them to experience? When the board outlines, this is what we're trying to do. My God, we went 17-2, we won. Okay, but your kids are all little assholes, yelling at kids. Like, is that good? No. So yeah, what benefits do you want? Question yourself on that development. Does that make sense to you? Or you're like, no, I'm going to pay play for hockey because I want that skating coach, the same guy who coached Cale Makar skate. It's one dimension. When you put all this, what expectations does that create among you? So again, what am I looking to do? And that's not the board's problem. That's not the coach's problem. That's all ours to deal with on what we're expecting from this program. Because you know what? We're contributors to this, man. We're not sitting on the sidelines complaining and stuff. We want to get engaged so we actually do it right. I love this one. At the end of the season, reverse engineer, what does success and success development mean to not only my son or daughter, but us? We finished that year, well, we went 20-2. Hang on, is that your definition of success? Because that's the trap that if you put wins as the major thing, which do get more important when you get to the junior hockey and college and NHL, but right now, that fun's one thing, but all of this is we're making those better humans to excel, to take a growth curve like that. So that's what does success mean? Chew on it and stuff, because hopefully your definition of success will align with the board and the coaches, like John Smith taught us and coached us, and then you get magic. You eliminate complaints, your kids feel better, and there's less pressure. So I go to the other question, which is right in the mirror. You see this, I put it out there, I get pretty assertive doing it, but your question to you is, what are you guys going to do to contribute to make that model happen? And classic, everything I've done, there's parents, and John again was great at a parent meeting. I want to assign things. Well, I'm so busy. We're all so busy. We all got jobs. Engage in this whole experience that you're having. Do something, do that, and love it, because guys, goes away quick when you realize, oh my God, the kids in the NHL, I don't get to do this anymore. Be part of this stuff in communication, aligned with what you're looking, because you're going to feel terrible. As I've met many parents, I never got involved. Oh, I just wrote a check and did it. Great. There's exceptions, but how can you get involved in this experience? Because it truly is holistic. We all got to be aligned. And I love this one, and I'll give another story of experience. Ask your kids, you guys there, do you want your mom and dad coming to your evaluations? How come?
I don't know.
Well, that's good, but at least but right there, a positive thing. So no doubt, mom hasn't driven home after a game. Mom, what's your name? Jack, how are you doing? You didn't pass the Sam. You could have scored that goal. So Jack went, I like to see them. But honestly, a lot of kids ask them because you know what? That's a dangerous pointed question because your kid might say, no. But that's information, which is power. Jack, why don't you want me to come? Well, mom, you make me nervous. You're yelling at things and stuff like that. Well, look in the mirror because that happens in, oh my God, in Calgary, arenas all over the place. To the point, my good friend Mike Sneed, who headed up College Hockey Inc., the marketing side for the NCAA, now head of Minnesota Wild Foundation, super high ranking in Minneapolis, Minnesota hockey. 7 years ago, they had enough of it. They had enough of parents, they had enough of complaining. First, they tried outside evaluators. 7 years ago, done. No parents allowed to watch minor hockey evaluations. Can you imagine that in Canada? Uproar the whole bit. 7 years later, unbelievable. And what do they see? They have film. Kids are smiling. They're relaxed because, well, play, man. Go have fun. But you're there with those expectations. That's the added pressure. So that, look in the mirror. How are you participating in this? You don't want to be asking the board. You want to be doing it. And that's why this is so great. Their next part will reveal transparent of how they're going to try their best to evaluate fairly. And I'm telling you, as a 63-year-old fart who's seen a million systems, including USA Hockey, there's no perfect way, you guys. Applaud them for trying. They're going to be as transparent as possible. And I don't even know your system, but just from I've heard, that's what it is. But you should understand that. But it doesn't mean, Jack, go on, this is the stuff you got to do. You got to do this and this. No, you don't want Jack thinking out there as a young kid. He's done that beforehand. I'm going to go out there and do my best with no pressure because you know what? I come home, mom and dad are going to hug me and love me as much as it was anyway. That's the philosophy I get from your board so far. I love it. It's the same we try to do to Hockey Calgary, but we're humans and it changes. But who are the ones that are the most responsible for this? Us, coaches and parents and things. And I know I put a lot on your shoulders in doing that. And it's guilt. Guilt is an extremely powerful emotion. And there's going to be half of you that are doing it right, another 25 they're doing it okay, and probably another 10% that are, that guy's a moron. I want my kid playing in the show. This little wussy crap. So you figure it out. There's not a right or a wrong, but what I'm saying is it's our responsibility. It's hard. It's all of our bit. So that's the mindset that I hope from that. If I made you guys think, go away, you kids going, it's evaluations. They don't really mean anything. They're where I'm at right now. And what if I didn't make that team? Well, now I've got a team of parents and coaches wherever I do end up that are working to make me better in all of these areas. And that's pretty cool because I can tell you as a kid with one in the NHL and another one probably, no one's ever looked or interviewed and said, oh, Jack, you played Pee Wee 3. Oh, geez. Boy. They don't do that, you guys. It's how are you developing, what are you doing? And the big thing is when they actually talk to you, and even the bigger thing, when they actually talk to parents. Scouts, and Andrew can attest to this. Probably the fastest thing makes you run away is you have a couple of parents, well, my kid's amazing. He's gonna probably the whole bit. I don't need those problems. I have a system for growth and development. I don't need. Anyone know who Cole Hudson is and his dad and how he just spoke out about not inviting to the US Olympic thing? Your dad is telling Hockey USA that your son, Montreal Canadiens, should have been invited. I feel so sorry for that kid because every face-off and everything is, hey, Cole, your dad told me where to pass the puck. That's where it's going to get to. And why? Because somebody didn't pause a parent to say, what's my role in this, how it goes? And it changes from this level where you do have a lot more license to talk to coaches to mold it and as it goes up. But look in the mirror. That's the big thing to do. So I didn't want to make them feel bad in the whole bit. Well, I did kind of because it's very important that parents take responsibility for this. And like I say, with my guys, the stress and stuff they went through, I learned the hard way from severe mental health challenges. And I was so lucky to 23 years old enroll in a program called Attitude Therapy for Stress Disorder, which changed my life. Took it twice, a 6-week program led to my lifelong learning of shit. How do you get better? Because you're never going to be great, never going to be perfect. And on that, I have a collection up here of books that honestly take a picture of these variety of authors that on every subject and stuff you can imagine that as a parent can make your life so much better. One that I just read, brand new, spoke this actually a few weeks ago. This guy here, 10 to 25, The Science of Motivating Young People. Unbelievable. Carol Dweck, I love this lady, created Mindset, which is their best book possible. She created Growth and Fixed Mindset. He's taken it to the next level where he explains his concept, common sense, called mentor mindset, which literally is setting high standards for your kids, but having high support. You can't just kick their butt and stuff like that. And we should have high standards because it's not just about fun, it's about that. Well, we're going to teach them and guide them. So this is incredible little knowledge. A lot of sports stuff in it too. This guy here, John O'Sullivan, you've probably seen his first book, Changing the Game, What's Everything Wrong in Sport. His newest one, Champion Sports Parent, gold. Everything I've said 10 times better. John synthesizes and says, the mindset that he helps you create, challenge yourself and question, is unbelievable. You read that, you go, well, that's great. You order this one from my friend, Dr. Sue Schimmel, who's a clinical psychologist based in Denver, who literally, her and her partner got so fed up, they counsel Olympic athletes and all sport athletes of the issues that kids and players would come to them because of their parents. So they says, we gotta write a book about getting inside a parent's mindset and the questions and stuff that she asks. Yeah, they'll make you guilty and cry, but you get it at this age, golden. All of these have different perspectives, guys, because when Fred was coaching us, I think there was one book on the market, which is still an exceptional book called Hockey Tough, which doesn't mean about tough physically. It's tough mentally. And this guy, Saul Miller, who John knows, was the first kind of pioneer of going, yeah, figure this shit out up front, sorry, kids, up front, because that's the important stuff. So take a picture of these. I promise you, any of those things are the most amazing reads of different perspectives, because again, it's us as parents, our responsibility to be active, engaged. And this thing called sport, we get to do it where there's not live bullets and life and death, and to be involved in the guide. So you get to that point where your kids playing the NHL wants to actually talk to you. Hey, well, what do you think, Dad? So we're doing it fun. So that's my thing at the start. Questions? I'd love to share more details of stress and stuff that Cale and Taylor went through in the thing, but kind of exceeded my time already there. So you go.
Thank you, Gary. That was awesome. Really amazing. If anyone needs chairs, if you want to come up real quick and just grab a chair back there, you're welcome to it. We also have refreshments. We have some water, some cookies, and muffins and stuff back there. You're welcome to that as well. We're just gonna let everyone get their chairs and then we'll get going here. So like I said before, Gary's gonna have some time to speak afterwards. And have some more answer some questions for you. So one of the reasons while you guys are getting your stuff, one of the reasons why we decided to do this evaluation night, there was three main things. One was we wanted to let everyone know how we do our evaluations, which we're going to talk about in a second. Number two is we wanted people to understand that it really doesn't matter where your kid ends up in evaluations and what that's going to mean for their long term. And that's what obviously Gary spoke about. He didn't even really talk about his own kids' stories about it. Maybe he'll share that in the question and answer period. And then the last one is, like he said, this is really something that is about our kids developing as people and humans and good humans and taking these skills that they learn within hockey. I always think of sports as like a soft landing to try a lot of stuff that turns into real life eventually, right? That's why I love sports so much. And so part of that is this takes a village kind of thing. And then he's talking about that parents are involved in the process of evaluations and all those kind of things. It's true. And that's why we wanted to share this information with everybody so that we can all kind of see, hey, we're all kind of in this together, trying to help our kids all get to be better hockey players, better people, a better community, the whole deal all the way around it. And that's what we're really trying to get to. But now I have to hit you with some evaluation stuff. So we're really super proud of our evaluation format. And we think we've done as good as we can do up to this point. And I think if you ask anyone and you ask these guys here, there's not one evaluation format that is 100% perfect and effective. There's always going to be things that are going to get missed. But if we can all understand that everyone's trying their best, we're doing what we can. And if your kid's a bubble kid and they end up on one side or the other, we really don't know where that's going to end up down the road. It might be the best thing for your kid that they end up not making that team. It might be the best thing for your kid that they do end up making that team. but it's up to us as parents, as coaches, as community members to try and like let everyone understand that it's not the most important thing in the world at what happened in that one evaluation. So the main reasons why we're doing our evaluations is we want to be able to try and get kids who are like players playing together. The best thing you can do is you don't want to have kids that are further along in their development playing against kids who are just starting their development, because neither one of them gains. The closer we can get to closer even where you're getting some challenge, but not getting overly challenged, that's really where we want to get people to get to all the way through. And that's why we do our evaluations. So the steps that we do in order to try and get through and make this as transparent and secure as possible is we have these 6 things that we involve in our evaluations. Number 1 is blinding of the identity of the player. Number 2 is the multiple independent evaluators. Number 3 is auditors to the evaluators. Number 4, we have a rule of 2 for all conversations that are happening during the evaluations. We have a team selection committee that it goes on in certain teams. And then we also have a final audit of the scoring system, so we can go back into the scoring system and check that everything works the way we wanted it to. So to start with the blinding, everyone knows that we put the numbers on the helmets. We do that so nobody knows who's who. Now, we do have the Eagles who are going to be doing our evaluations again this year, which we're super excited about. We think they do an amazing job, and thank you for being involved once again. And we know that some people complain about sometimes that there's like billet families that know certain kids. So we really try to not have any billets involved in any evaluations of kids that they know. But secondly, we also have multiple evaluators that are going to be doing it, and that's going to also change those things, which we'll talk about next. So with the multiple independent evaluators, we're going to have 4 evaluators at every session. One of them is going to be a lead evaluator. So that means it's either going to be one of the coaches or one of the senior players on the team, and then 3 other evaluators. They are all evaluating independently of each other. And then we also have
those are also the same 4, right?
For every
That's
division.
important to know that's the same 4 for the whole time. So it's not like one day they see one player and it's another player. So that's
Thank you.
important.
Yeah, that's true.
For each division.
Yeah.
For each division, yeah. And then we also have, after we have those evaluators, which are all putting on in their independent scores, we also then have an auditor that's double checking those scores. So with the auditors, they sit there, they have hockey experience, they're members of our community. Oftentimes, parents who don't have kids involved in that session in particular, or other independent people that we just know that we can get to come in and do it. What we're doing is we're comparing their scores or their rankings to the scores of the evaluator. So now we're having another check to make sure, does everything seem to be matching up? Is everyone scoring all kind of ranking in a similar way? And it allows us to be able to flag when things don't seem to be matching up. Anything I'm missing so far with that, guys? Okay, the rule of 2. So what we have introduced this year is we made it so that nobody can have any conversations with evaluators without having someone else with them when they have those conversations. Everything CMHA tries to do, we try and do that rule of 2. If a coach is talking to a parent, if they're talking to a kid, we want to always have 2 people there, so we always have that security of having a witness in everything that's being done. And so we've adopted that rule this year, and we think that's going to make people even more confident in our processes, that there's no shenanigans that are going on in any of that stuff. Team selection committee. So this used to be the coach's pick. And I don't know if you guys ever, how many of you guys have been around for the old coach's pick, but it used to be the old coach's pick was the coach would just hand you a name of 5 players that they wanted to pick on their team, and that was it. So we've gotten rid of that. We've started a whole new way to do it. So now it's a whole team selection. We have the coach, we have the evaluators that were there for that selection. We have the auditor, the director of development. We have Jeff, and then we have Aaron, and maybe even another board member on top of that. So we have all these people that are in this room, and I was in it last year, Aaron was in it last year, Jeff was in it last year. And it was amazing. It was so fun. I didn't say anything. I just sat there and listened to everybody. But it was so interesting to listen to even Andrew's kids who were there doing these evaluations, and they're arguing with each other about who they thought would fit better in this team and why. And you could tell that they all were super engaged. They had watched those kids because they had opinion on what they thought about those kids. And it made me feel so good about it in the end. And Jeff was just basically the moderator saying, okay, well, how do we rank these kids? And then all the evaluators and the coaches would start ranking them, and we'd come down, and we'd narrow it down, and then eventually it'd be like, okay, is this the one we're voting for? Yes, okay, good. Then once we do that, then they have to bring that to the board and have another final conversation about that, and then it gets approved. So again, we just think we're trying really hard to do the best we can for all these kids. And we want you to understand, since you're part of our team and the way we're doing this, we want you to understand how we're actually doing it.
Just for one thing on that one, Chris, that doesn't happen at all levels.
Fair. Okay, so the reason we do those coach pick selections, and the reason we're doing those team selection things, or in that committee, is usually with teams that have position players. So if we have a need for forwards and defense versus like say U11 where everyone's playing every position, we don't really need that. But when it comes to the point where we're in U13, U15, U18, where we actually have to make sure we balance the team, we might end up with the 15 top scorers in evaluations, and we might only have 3 defensemen. And we're like, now what do we do? Do we play with 3 defensemen, or do we try and see if some of those kids are going to end up being those forwards turning into defensemen, or we're going to pull some defensemen that didn't quite score in the top 15 to round that out? That's a discussion that's being had. We're just trying to make as even of a team as possible. Jeff, does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Okay. The last thing is that every session, we're going to close down so every evaluator is going to have their own unique login. Jeff has his unique login. Kevin has his unique login. Aaron has her unique login. No one can access the system or do any changes without everyone else knowing where that change come from. So at the end of every session, we go through with these people who have those logins, and they double check to make sure nothing has been altered throughout the whole time. So again, it's one last double check, which has anything ever happened that we've seen? Right. So, but we do it anyway because we want to make sure that we're covering all the bases that we can. Okay. I think that is the end. Yep. Okay. So we're gonna have a question period afterwards for all of our speakers. But as far as the evaluation component of it, is there anything that we talked about in the evaluation or any questions you have about evaluations that you'd like to ask now before we get to our next speakers? Yes, sir.
Are the evaluators assigned to a certain number and only those numbers, or are they just kind of randomly watching, or are they cycling through the numbers?
Jeff, do you want to answer this? I believe that they're
They're
just,
cycling through everything.
they're going through everything.
You do everybody.
Yeah.
And that's why the numbers, that's why the debate will have happened, because a defenseman's eye sometimes is gravitate to a defenseman or backwards skating, which is great. But then that's why the discussion happens after the end with the, what we'll call friendly banter of, I like him for this reason, I didn't like him for that reason. Those guys get in there and discuss it, just like what happened at our level, so.
Any other questions?
And that's why it's the same 4 guys over all the skates. So the U13 Aaron, one of them was like 10 skates or 12 skates or something. It's pretty substantial.
Yeah, because they have 2 skills, so.
Right,
Yeah.
so they are gonna watch every one of those, so they're gonna say, like, they'll see all players play over the 10.
Who was in the back who had their hand up?
Right back. Just curious what kind of checks and balances there might be to make sure that coaches or board members or staff or people with influence aren't, are at a distance from influencing their kids' placement on a team or. How they
Gotcha.
that on a roster.
So outside of what we just mentioned.
Well, I
right.
didn't see anything in there that might say that this guy who's, a coach has some kind of influence in through the system, or if he's on the board or whatever that might influence.
Yeah, so I guess like if we're gonna have, let's say the rule of 2, we're not gonna have a rule of 2 of if my kid is being evaluated, I'm not one of the 2 who's going in to have that conversation. But beyond that, I don't know how they would be able to influence it, because I think that we've covered a lot of those. I guess you'd have to give me some example beyond what we've already talked about that you think would be some way that would happen. I'm not sure.
Nobody can approach our evaluators sitting in the stands without 2 board members with them.
That's beautiful, thank
So,
you.
yeah, simple.
Yeah, were you listening a minute ago? Sorry, Troy, I'm just.
You're gonna have 4 evaluators, so you're gonna be able to see, you see the numbers, you're gonna be able to see that kind of discrepancy if there is. Those numbers are gonna level out over the period.
Are those numbers made public?
Those numbers are not made public, no, but if people can request to come in and see their kids' numbers. But we do not put them public, no, that would probably not be a great idea.
Don't open that.
Then the next question, I don't know if this refers to this or not, but as far as the coaching side of things on who is the coaching for certain levels or who are the
Yeah.
of the team?
That's a
I
good
guess,
question.
right?
So we don't always know who the coach is. So if there might be a team selection process that occurs without a coach. But if we already know who the coach is, so for instance, if we have, as we're going through the evaluation, we have a couple of people who applied to become a coach. And one, so Kevin, let's say Kevin's applied to become a coach, his kid ranked in the top 5 of the team that he wants to coach. Well then, and he's the only one who's applied to coach for that, then we already know he's gonna be the coach. His kid is already evaluated high enough to become that coach, he gets to be involved in that coach pick. Not for his own kid, but for the final picks of the other ones. And if we don't have that, we don't have a clear picture yet of who the coach is gonna be, then there's gonna be no coach during that selection, we're gonna do it independent of the coach.
Chris, just explain the coach's pick, right? It's not the whole team.
It's not the whole team. Yeah.
They rank out.
I guess it's more concerning of if a certain individual player doesn't get along with the coach per se, and then, you know, so having some influence of like maybe my son or daughter doesn't want to play because this is the coach. This is probably getting into the more U13, U15, U18 level where they've had history with this coach and they don't want to be with this coach anymore. So how does that influence, or how can that possibly influence?
Meaning that like you wouldn't want your kid to be on a team that they might get selected for, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if this coach or ex coach Y, so my daughter wants to play in tier 1 in Canmore, but if this is the coach, well, then maybe she might want to try out in Cochrane, or maybe she doesn't want to play for that team.
Yeah. I mean, we're a small town, we have only so many coaches that we can pick from.
Yeah.
I'm sure that not every kid loves every coach.
Yeah.
My kids haven't loved every one of their coaches, but I think we have a limit. If we're gonna try and find a coach that every kid on every team likes, we're gonna.
I guess just trying to find if there's.
We try our best to ask for applications for
Yeah.
people to come in and coach. We try and sort through who has the best, resume on that. And then we also take into account past history from the reviews that we've gotten
Surveys.
from previous year. What are they
The
called?
survey.
Surveys.
Yeah, the
Okay, so sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we try and do all that. So if, all of a sudden we have a coach that 99% of the people are saying they don't like, then we're probably not gonna pick that coach for the next year.
Well, and I think if we're lucky enough to have a selection and more than one to choose from, our goal has always been to choose the best coach out of that, the group of candidates, so.
Like, I would recommend in advance talking to Kevin. That's his role here, is to say
Yeah.
exactly that.
Yeah.
One-on-one, you and Kevin, here's the deal. He's aware of it. He knows what to do. As the evaluations are coming through, he can cross that bridge if need be. But to me, that would go to Kevin first.
Okay.
Yeah, and to be clear, Kevin is the one who is now the director of development for CMHA. So he's the guy that's at the top of the umbrella for that, and Jeff works hand in hand with him. Okay, so those are the people who really are the ones who are in the know in this whole thing. And then Erin obviously is the one, she's in the know of everything. She's at the top of the peak of the umbrella. She knows everything about everything. Any other questions about evaluations?
I don't have to answer, but I was just gonna, is there opportunity for feedback from Kevin after, like with the child, that just to find out scores and where they can better improve, like nothing?
So we've had that before. We've had it even last year, where some parents, they weren't so much concerned about the fact that their kid did or didn't make the team, but they were more interested on, well, what did they not score well on? And some parents just take advantage of that. They write in or they call and they say, hey, can we come in and have a meeting? We can show you your kids' scores. We can show you how they ranked with the few kids above or below, but no names. So it's just your kid and then some numbers. And then beyond that, you can kind of say, oh, well, it looks like I need to work on my backward skating or my stick handling or my hockey IQ and whatever. And then you can take that information and do what you please with it.
And I have no problem having conversations with that.
But I obviously got on.
Yes.
So really, at the end of the day, when that's all said and done, the evaluation process is over. Let me know if that's what you wanna know more about, because then I can dive into it. You can kind of find out what the plan is for Briar or whoever, right? Yeah. And kind of go on top of that.
Jeff, Would it be fair to set a date, a reasonable date in which we will start offering these reports or these conversations? Because obviously sometimes those questions come pretty hot and fast after evaluations, but it's a bit of a hairy time. So would you like to set a date that would be appropriate? We can put that online, that you would be willing to.
Honestly, I would say give it like a week or so, like if your players where they are. You know, there's not a lot that's gonna change necessarily from that side of it, so coming in hot and heavy is not really gonna help on that side, but if you want on the development side. Obviously, earlier you kind of talked to me about development, kind of before we start morning skates, which is what, mid-October?
It's after Thanksgiving, yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah.
So after that kind of, yeah, until that kind of time, once we're into team play. Then there'll be a lot more time for me to kind of sit down, look at the results of that individual player, kind of build my thoughts on it.
So we've never had a huge amount of people come and ask for those scores. So this is maybe the first time that it's kind of been put out public where you're like, hey, you come get your scores changed. So just to be clear, if we get 100 requests, it's gonna take some time for us to get through all of it, okay? We have to be fair to that whole process. So we wanna be as open and transparent to that whole thing, but just understand that there's only a few of us. So if it does get to be a backlog, we'll do our best to get through as quickly as we can.
And will it be a 90-second kind of buzzer for the kids coming on and off the ice like last year?
It should always be for skaters, yeah, we usually time their shifts,
Okay.
yeah, yes.
Anything else for evaluation for the process itself, before we get to our next speakers? Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna introduce Kevin, come on up. As I said, he's our development director. He's just gonna give you a little bit of perspective on his ideas around evaluations. Then we'll have Andrew come up, have the same perspective, or have the same conversation, and then we'll have questions and answers after that. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, it's great to see everybody. Nice to have everybody here. It's always an exciting time of the year. I'll just give you a little bit of background of myself. I grew up in the valley, just so you understand my perspective on A, why I'm here, and B, how I think that I can help with the help of everybody else. So I grew up in the valley. I played minor hockey down to Canmore. Left when I was 15. Went and played minor hockey in Saskatchewan for a year. Played junior hockey in the Western League. Was drafted to Hartford. Was able to realize that dream that every kid has of playing in the NHL. But what Gary said about mental fortitude really struck home with me, because my career ended with an eye injury. So I didn't learn any of that. None of this type of stuff that is happening today was available. Well, it might have been available, but it was never taught to me. It was the rough and tough. My parents weren't. My parents were very supportive, but it was rough and tough hockey. You know, if you got hit in the head, you played the next shift. I remember getting hit in loose jaw, unconscious, went into the wrong team's bench. 2 shifts later, I was playing. So that was the mentality back then. There is so much information, these books, everything else that are out there, that I think it is so imperative that us as coaches, parents, players, board members, people that are watching, take advantage of, because this is how we all become better. So I don't know, I might know 2 kids in Canmore right now. So I don't have any, you know, it's gonna be all new for me watching these kids skate and learn and perform, and I'm super excited to see it happen and unfold. Because for me, hockey, because my career ended, hockey became more about how do we create good citizens? Because the kids today are going to be who lead our community in the future. So how do we make good citizens? Because the reality of the situation, and Gary can attest to it, I know his sons both will probably play at the NHL. My brother played at the NHL. That is such a small percentage. So what are we doing with the rest? How are we developing people and kids and athletes and parents? How are we looking in the mirror and doing all of these things so that it becomes so that our community can grow in the future. So I have served on a board in another place. The transparency and the evaluation process here is second to none. Is there gonna be some mistakes and some up and downs and some peaks and valleys? Of course, we're human. Things might not always end up being, that's just me. I got a daughter that plays volleyball up in Ontario. So, you know, I think that the transparency and the process here is second to none. Like I said, there's gonna be some mistakes and there's gonna be some questions, and I think communication is key. If you guys have questions, use the rule of two. My door's always open. I'm more than happy to talk to anybody. But evaluation, what we have to remember is evaluations is just that, right? Is we are evaluating a certain amount of kids to play on a team. And maybe your son or daughter is right there in the bubble and they for some reason don't try out very well. That's an opportunity for us as parents, coaches, teachers, board members to help them. And I use the word failure because I think that we all need to learn how to fail before we can learn how to succeed. And doesn't mean you are a failure. It means somebody else tried out better than you today. And that does not indicate of who you are as a person or a player and where you're going to be in the end. Ask me how I know. I got cut from teams and went home crying and told my dad I'm never playing again. And he always just said, hey, it's about the process. It's about the process. Keep working hard. What are you going to do next time? What did you learn? How do you become better? All of these things are very important. So evaluations are that, right? And there's always going to be right at that line for most teams where there's 2 or 3 kids and they can go either way. But both of my boys played. One got to play for Andrew here. And in the minor hockey process, there were a couple of times where both of them, as parents, we talked to them and we decided to keep them back a level. Because I truly believe that your kids should play at the level that they are going to develop. So sometimes, you know, you want your child to play at this elite level, and maybe they're not quite at that level, and so they don't touch the puck as much and do all these things. So sometimes playing at a lower level can be a benefit. So I think I'm super excited to work with Andrew and the kids. And I know sometimes it's that perspective of you got 16 to 20-year-olds evaluating your kids. But I can guarantee you that every one of those kids know more about hockey than most of us in the room. They've gone through that whole process and they understand. They can watch at a daily basis. Those kids are on the ice learning skill development, learning about mindset, learning about all these things. So they do a really good job. Maybe it might not seem like it at times, but they do. I'm going to be watching. Other people are going to be watching, and I think we're going to have I'm looking forward to having exciting tryouts and then years. Thank you.
Okay, so Andrew's just gonna come up now.
I'll just speak quickly on a few things, and first of all, thanks to the board. I've been doing this now 16 years of evaluations. Okay, I've been involved in Canmore minor hockey for 16 years of evaluations. I can tell you right now, this is the best process in our 16 years. Throughout the province, discussing it, guys, it is the #1 process. And you were nice when you said we think it's the best. It is the best. It's hands down the best. It works. It's effective. Do we make mistakes? Absolutely. But we've got it now to a fine art. So thanks to the board for believing in the players and getting it to this point. You guys have done great. Thanks to Gary for coming. I think it's important, and 2 things I'm going to talk about. I'm going to tell a Makar story because I know you want to hear those. But what happened, and we won't get into this for the kids in the room right now, but with the NCAA rule change, I think people are sort of hearing that it's changed now where a player can play in the WHL and then go to NCAA. Okay, that before didn't happen, which it would have been great when Cale played, because then Cale would have gone to the Dub and played Medicine Hat, not in Brooks. But the rule is changed now, and Gary can speak to that. He'll be here for a while to talk about why that has. And what that's done in the big picture, everybody, is it's made players play where they belong to play. As a 15-year-old, if you signed a contract with WHL, you were ineligible to play college hockey. So at 15, you had to make a decision about my entire career path. At 15, 14, even, right? 14. So all of a sudden at 14, I mean, I don't want to speak poorly to 14-year-olds, but do you think they can make a lifelong decision at 14 years of age? These guys think what they're going to have for dinner and that's it. But all of a sudden, we've gone and changed that rule, so now they don't have to make the decision. So now, what this big picture item looks like is players play where they belong to play. You play U18, you're good enough, you jump up to Junior A. You play Junior A, you're good enough, you jump up to the Western League. You play in the Western League, you're good enough, you go up to college. You play in college, you're good enough, you go up to the NHL. And that's just a simple process now. Before there was tracks, you had to go this way and rules, and there was all sorts of things that could have happened. So hockey is actually eventually going to level itself out, which is what Kev was talking about. Now players play where they belong to play at that time. Cale Makar at that age, in U18, with no disrespect to Cale, and I'm not an idiot, guys, for not trying to draft Cale. Just so we can all let's agree on that, right? We can all agree on that. 40 games played at U18, he had 23 points. Yeah, that's okay. The question I'm going to ask Gary is, what the hell happened between U18 and Junior A that summer? What did Cale do? What happened? Why did he all of a sudden go from here? And then all of a sudden, what happened after that first year of college that Cale went from here to here? Because do you think anyone, and Smitty's in the room back there somewhere, aren't you? When you had him, did you go, this is going to be a Norris Trophy winner in the NHL? I got it. Exactly. Exactly. So I'm not that bad for missing out on it, right? But I think it's important that players will play where they belong to play. And at that time, he belonged to play there. Okay? And whether you make that team or don't make that team, take the positive in that and become the best. Oftentimes, my opinion on the whole thing is the confidence is so hard to get with kids at every age. Sometimes they're better off being the best player on the lower team than they are the worst player on the upper team. You want them to wear the jacket that has 3 A's, but it's not better for them. The better thing for them is to develop at the pace they want to develop at. And Gary can speak to this and he's probably going to be humble about it. There's no chance you thought Cale was going to be a Norris Trophy winner, right?
You set up the environment, but this is like I say, where we focus because it's not me doing it. It's not the skating coach. It's the kid's own internal motivation that I want to be the best, but more important is I want to get better every day. And if we've set that up, that environment, they're doing the work because they want to. And that's, you want a difference? The competitive nature in that, not to crush or to do anything, but looking in that mirror, that's my competition. Put it all in himself. That's his other son, Taylor, where I want to be better. It's not just hockey, it's anything where they approach it. If you're going to do it, why not do it better? So as a parent, if we instill that in the kids, job's easy. A coach, I shouldn't have to tell you a million things. So that internal drive, that mindset, you want the difference of it? I will focus. At some point it clicks in where you got the tools. Well, you know what? And then we got it. You can play in that backyard rink as long as you got your homework done. Creative, all the stuff you want, pushing, because it's you that wants to do it. We can ignite that. And that's the point of sports psychology.
And as good as Cale was, there's one thing that could have stopped him instantly from playing college hockey. You guys know what that is? Just like that. Not even a question. Boom, done. What?
Injury.
Well, that could that's 2 things. Second thing, it's grades. If he doesn't get in, there's no like, nudge, nudge. He's going to be a Norris Trophy winner. Let's get him into college. If he doesn't get in, he doesn't play. And you could talk to about a dozen kids on the Brooks Stands that couldn't get in. So that academic, I say it all the time, you can focus on hockey, spend all day at the rink. If you don't get the grades, you don't go to college. The path now through the NHL is going to be through college. It's going to be through college moving forward. So as a parent, I want to get my kid into college because that's more important. Eventually, 15 or 16, they'll be able to do the process, right? But I think that's important that we stop and think about that for a second and say, okay, is he gaining confidence in the rink, which is going to help confidence in the classroom? Is he losing confidence in the rink, which will help lose confidence in the classroom? Because that, again, it's the only person more powerful in our organization than myself is our education lady, Deb Sellers. If Deb says you're not playing, you're doing your homework, you're not playing. I can't control that. But those guys know if I don't get the grades, I can't get into college. What am I doing this for? Okay, so that's something to think about as well. And we got to build on that. But quickly on Cale, just so you guys don't think I'm a complete idiot when I coach. So Cale is arguably the best. Well, not arguably, he's the best player in the league. So we focus all of our game tactics on Cale. Okay, he's good at everything, unfortunately. So we decide what we're going to do is we're going to trap Cale. We call it. We're going to trap him, which means we're just going to hold right back in the neutral zone. Essentially, for lack of a better term, we're just going to put 5 guys here, We're gonna 2 on an angle, and when Cale comes out, we're gonna force him into the trap, and he's gonna have to hit the boards over here, and we're gonna force him. So we sit back. So that means Cale gets to start from behind the net and skate all the way through the neutral zone while we're ready for the trap. We thought that was the play, right? You've heard of the trap? Well, now give Cale Makar an entire zone to gain speed while you're flat-footed. Wow, that didn't work. Okay, so then we go back and we say, Cale just picks you apart, and then he goes in and scores. Okay, so we do it again on the game. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna pressure the heck out of him. We're gonna attack him with everything we got. When he sets up behind the net, because for those of you who've watched Cale behind the net, when he's standing behind the net like this, it's a safe zone. He gets to see the whole ice and he's safe. How are you gonna get it? You gotta go one way or the other, don't. So you come out this way, guess which way Cale's going? Quickly. So we said, we're gonna trick him. We're gonna send 2 at him as quick as we can. Both sides are gonna come out, and he's gonna have no option to skate the puck. It's brilliant, isn't it? So we send both as hard as we can. He sees it coming, steps out, saucer pass up the middle. They now have a 3-on-2 going the other way because we've sent 2 to 1 guy. They've outnumbered us on that. Okay, we're gonna take away the pass through the middle. Now I'm doing this every game. We're doing something different to beat Cale. And it's not beating the Brooks Bandits. Let's not kid ourselves. The Brooks Bandits are good. Cale Makar is good. So we're going to send 3 to him. That was the plan. So now we're going to take the 2 flanks out, and we're going to drop the middle guy down in front of the net so Cale can't sauce it up the middle. Now he's screwed, right? Got it. Well, all Cale would do is wait, see the pressure coming. Now all of a sudden he must have played pool as a kid because he just hit it off the backboards, hit the boards. Now they got him 3-on-1. And now we're really screwed. So we go into a game, and I had a great pivotal coaching moment in my career with Cale. And Gary probably doesn't know this, but and you'll thank me after another story, I'm assuming. We're playing them on the power play. Another weapon that Cale happens to have is the hardest shot ever in the history of junior hockey. So when you're blocking a shot, as you can imagine, if I've asked you to block it this far away, he's probably going to get it waist high. Not good, right? So we asked our guys, you got to step up on Cale. You can't you don't want to take that in the danger zone right here, right? You guys know where I'm going with this? Right? So the idea behind that is you've got to take his time and space away. So you've got to get right up in his face, right here. So he doesn't have time to get it up, because if it hits you up, you're hurt. So we're going to stay right here on him. So we're playing in the playoffs. We've done everything we can do to get him. Matt Forchuk, who's the best forward in the league at the time, leads the league in scoring in the AJHL, plays with us. Cale's the best defense in the league, leads the league in scoring. We're in the playoffs. Forch is going up to block a one-timer coming. We know it's coming. It's there. You can't avoid it. You either sit back and he scores, or you get up in his face and hopefully it doesn't hurt too bad. So Forchuk goes up to block the shot. Cale rips a one-timer, hits him right in the leg. It's late in the period. Our guy goes down. He gets up. The shot block. We go in the dressing room. Matt's kind of hobbling around. They don't score. We're all happy. Doctor comes in. McLaughlin's in there, and he's broke Matt's kneecap. He's cracked the break through shin pad and broke his kneecap. Well, that's not good. I just lost the best player in the league. That's not good. So I had this pivotal moment. So we're in the coach's room and we're discussing, well, now we're really in trouble. Not only is he not scoring goals, but he's breaking guys' knees with his shot. This isn't good. So as we're about to go out for the period, I walk out in Brooks and I look back, and Forchuk is getting dressed. He's putting his gear back on. So I'm like, got a broken leg. What's he doing? So the guys are getting ready to go, and I go over to him. And Matt would have no problem me telling you the story because he's a good competitive kid. I said, Matt, what are you doing? So I'm going back out there. I said, well, you can't go to the broken leg. He goes, no, I'm not going to play. I said, what are you going to do? He goes, I'm going to break his wrist. Because if I don't get to play, neither does he. I went, tried the wolves behind the net. We tried all these things. Broken wrist going to be tough to play. I actually, as a coach, kind of went, all right, Matt, I like it. But unfortunately, I can't let you do that. No, I'm breaking his wrist. I'm breaking his wrist. He's done, Matt's 20, he's done hockey. Cale's done, I'm breaking his wrist. The only chance we had here, and if he doesn't play, I break his wrist. Now, I did the right thing and said, no, Matt, you're not allowed to play, even though he's on his way out, finding me getting out the door. You're not allowed to get out there and play. And it's that point of, like, I guess from the Cale story, that's where we ended up every time. I had this pivotal moment and thought to myself, that's a bad play. We tried everything else that didn't work. We end up with that, Cale. So, yeah, exactly. And then ironically,
I appreciate that.
There's not to that risk. But I just think, guys, for the evaluation process, it's important for, and everyone said here, you don't hear me say it, just take a breath. Take a deep breath and relax. Players will play where they belong to play. Cale had 23 points in 40 games in U18. That isn't sexy at all. That is not sexy at all. It's okay. It's okay. But it's not sexy. Something happened between there to be a good junior A player. And I'm not gonna, you didn't do something, you didn't, that magic powder you had or magic syrup, you
Well,
know?
we paid a lot for that Chinese doctor.
Yeah, nothing happened, I don't think, did there? Right.
There.
Then all of a sudden, Cale has a great junior experience. He plays a great junior experience. Nobody thought this kid was gonna be that level of good. Right? And so it just happened. It just happened. And I guess the process is that just let it happen. Let it happen, support the process, trust these guys. They are doing a great job, a phenomenal job of making sure it's transparent. We work with our guys every day on it, and our players aren't, as in, they're not anywhere near the intensity that we're at with these evaluations. They are out there to give exactly that, an input into hockey, and that's it. They don't care who you are, what business you own. They're not that smart. I told you that. They're not that smart. They aren't. They think that the only thing they're thinking about here other than hockey is what are they gonna have for dinner? That's it. So they don't put two and two together as much as you guys may think. And when they're talking, majority of time they're discussing, hey, my iPad's not working correctly. What's the Wi-Fi password? Hey, what do I do here to get onto the evaluations? They take it as serious as they can, because we've done this for so many years with so many different coaches and harp on these guys. It's important. It makes all of our lives easier if it's done really well off the start. Right? So I think that's just a little bit of insight into this process, hopefully a little bit of humility and helping how this process goes along. I know you want to hear some Makar stories, and I know you thought we didn't really coach him well, but we tried our best. It's not much you can do. And I don't feel that bad because the NHL isn't handling it either. So I don't feel that bad when they beat us like that. So anyway, that's it for me. Chris, any questions you guys have for us or on our players?
How about a question from one of the kids? Do any kids have any questions for any of these guys? For your parents?
Who's running the practices?
What's that?
Who's running the practices?
Jeff's creating the practices, so they're all consistent, all the same. And then we are somebody from our organization will running the practices. So just so you know, the process that we're told from Canmore Hockey Board is we are to explain the drill, maybe demo the drill, and then leave it to the kids. Because we are evaluating hockey IQ, we're evaluating, are they listening? We're evaluating, like all those things are being evaluated. So we're not out there coaching, guiding, helping. Our role is to sort of facilitate the puck movement, the players, the drills, and then let them sort that out themselves. Is that fair, Jeff?
Yep.
But practices Jeff's creating so that it's consistently all the way through. We're evaluating the proper skills for each level of play. But in any facet of any organization, you're being evaluated in everything you do. And that's one thing that we tell our kids. Somewhere everybody's watching. And in one of your books, that quote I had when you folded the paper was a brilliant quote. I just flipped through on it and said, if I was a parent, I wouldn't be worried about my kid isn't listening to me. I'd be worried that they're watching me all the time. And I think that's a brilliant process in this. They're watching you the whole time, your reaction. Okay. So everything that they do is being watched. But that's all the way through. From when we were little kids to my guys. You never know where someone's watching you. And we all want to recruit good people first. That's hands down the best thing we can do is recruit good people. Because we're all great coaches. I can teach a good person how to become a better hockey player. Can't always do it the other way around. So evaluations don't just happen on the ice at times. Right? I think that's important for the kids to know that they're being evaluated all the time.
Is Evolution Goaltending doing the goalies, or is it only the players? They only look at the goalies.
Evolution does their own goalie
Okay.
evaluation.
And Cards, I can speak for Cards. He's on the ice. I mean, there isn't a better goaltender. We're super fortunate to have Justin available to us. I mean, guys coaching National Hockey League goaltenders that are winning Stanley Cups, been doing it a long time, whether it's in the Western League to this league. You're not going to find a better goaltending coach or a goaltending evaluator out here. Again, Justin isn't involved in the politics of what's going on here and there. Justin's involved in the passion of goaltending, which is impressive because that's the heart of it too. We got one, what?
Do we have any goaltenders yet?
Why? No. Watch our game today. 6-2. That's a Jeff question or a Mike. Do we have both guys?
Extra goalies.
We have goalies. Good ones,
If you're interested in goaltending though, let's chat.
Ones that can stop the shot.
No.
Oh.
Any other questions?
Maybe for the kids, like, I know we're for a U13, we're like not looking at skills so much. We're looking at a little bit of skills and more gameplay.
So it starts to change, like, Jeff, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in the U11 and U13, it's more skill, less game. U15 to U18, it's more game, less skill. U18 is all game. And
It kind of progresses up.
it progresses up.
It's 60-40.
Yeah.
60.
And then there's a balance that kind of goes through. You wanna see all the percentages? It's on the evaluation documentation that's on the
Yeah.
website.
Yeah, all of this stuff is on the website, by the way, too, if you ever wanna look at it, but we're always happy to have these kind of things going on as well.
U13 60-40, 60 skill, 40 game.
60, okay, nice.
Any, how about we, tell the story about, your kids being cut?
Oh, nice. So just
Which
basic-
one?
Basically adversity, yeah. So as people do, like, we get a good opportunity to speak with a lot of things and people think, well, you never have the stress. So far with older kids, always play the one teams. Up to like Pee Wee and stuff, absolutely, the one teams. We kind of knew they were gonna be there, but yeah, that's where you start following the mindset. Bantam AA quadrant, so we're in the northwest part of the city. Cale doesn't even get a chance to try out the Bantam AAA. He's small, he's a small guy. And doesn't faze me, but it phases him like it should. And he wants to be there. He deserves to be there. He's good enough. But it's back that whole mindset. What are you gonna do about it? So doesn't even get a tryout, and his buddies are up there, and he knows that they're better players, but he's a little small defenseman, 5'2" or whatever it was. So you go, here's reality, just like Andrew said. Buddy, you're gonna go up there with those guys and get potentially so what? So AA, back to the conversation, what are you gonna do now? Well, my friends are up there the whole bit, well, here's your opportunity, you got a whole other group of friends, and the interesting thing is. All those guys on Bantam AA are older guys, because they haven't lived it, and they're actually more mature, and they're a little bit more wild and stuff. So more challenge for him to say, what are you gonna do? Back to that competitive thing, well, I'm gonna show those guys. So, moral of the story, smallest guy in the whole Bantam AA league wins the best defenseman, wins the best elite council because he said, I'm gonna do this, man, and show those guys. No, okay, that's it, that's gonna happen the whole bit. So then I'm pumped, ready to go with all this stuff. The year comes another setback, Alberta Cup, that everybody knows. If you don't make the Alberta Cup, your hockey career is done. Because that's every Western hockey, they hear 13 or whatever, and you're going to the show then. Well, he has this amazing trial, just unbelievable everyone. And I got all these guys emailing me, oh man, this is great, it's gonna be good. Doesn't make the team. Why? He's a small defenseman, and the guys that pick the team are the big defenseman because the coach decided that. Honestly, it's just like Andy said, he's in the car. It's just this is biblical proportion setback. You let him get it out of your system, buddy. I want you to feel bad. It's not, oh, it's gonna be okay, honey, it's all good. No, it's not okay at that time, and that's okay. You wanted something bad. You put your guts into it and you didn't get it. So that should make you upset. Now, it's done, man. What are you gonna do about it? There's a beautiful thing. The past is history, tomorrow's a mystery. To right now, what we have is a gift. That's why they call it present. That's all that we can act in. Well, you get your kids to that thing to say, yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. This is all we can work in. So what do? Go back, work harder, work harder, work harder to show those guys. And then he starts to grow a little bit stuff. God, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna take out mid AAA now there. Doesn't even get asked to try out for midget AAA. Plays minor midget 15. Same thing again, but by that time it's like, hey, I'm not looking right now because we conditioned them. This is a snapshot. Where are you gonna go? Because I'm the smallest guy in the family. I'm 6'1". He's gonna grow. Western Hockey League, absolutely hilarious. I'd have scouts beside me, putting their foot beside me. And I'd go, listen, I'm 6'1". I got size 11 feet. And you guys go, oh, and it's just this bizarre mentality because anybody can close one eye and pick the top 50 kids right now that based on their size and stuff. But this is what's going to differentiate as you grow, and you guys are going to do that yourself. So all these little setbacks have happened. Even when you go into university, here, most valuable player in the Alberta Junior Hockey League twice, rips it up, RBC MVP twice. This guy's going place, goes to UMass and stuff like that. Well, if you've never seen an NCAA college game up front with 23, 24-year-olds, and here, he wasn't big yet, going into that as, oh my God, this kid's the superstar. But his mindset was right. He said, okay, this is a different beast to him. And literally, he had a really good year, really good. And after that year, Joe Sackett, who I love Joe, great guy, on the phone with us. Okay, we're getting him in the system and stuff like that. Cale, no, Mr. Sackett.
Gary,
I'm not-
before you go, speak to the fact, is that I think it's super important for the Makar family, our sense of loyalty. You guys could have gone anywhere after the coach left, and Amherst was not on the map.
No, well,
That's a crazy amount of loyalty and obviously family involved in that.
yeah, we, like, when you go through that system, and once you're pretty good, you get different opportunities and offers. So when we actually decided to go, and literally, it's education first, when you're one injury away, but that whole holistic thing. The team at the time was horrible. The coach probably wasn't that good, but I met the guy, really good character guy. Well, they also had an athletic director, a new one coming on. The team was terrible. The athletic director, his father was a legend, Brian Bamford, but hockey was going to become the most important thing for him. And what they had planned for the program, you know, that's what sort of, this is good. And I wanted to be in Eastern US, total different culture, total out of the comfort zone, different thing, big school, the whole bit. But it was that school going, hockey's going to be important. So before we even wrote to start, UMass, after a terrible season, fired that coach. Well, I'm telling you, probably 52 different colleges followed.
Because the rule is, once the coach is gone, he's now able to go, it's a Tampa, he can go
You can
anywhere he
be
wants.
committed.
He can go anywhere he wants, and he's excelled at that point to be worth 62 teams actually. The Ivers are there.
And so you look at that, we had all these reasons, because like in my business planning, where are you now? Where do you want to go? How are you going to get there? The basics of any plan, but we thought it out. There wasn't one reason. And big schools, say like a Boston College in Hockey East, which is a great division, I love it, super competitive, which is another reason going there. They want to go. Well, you sit back and you go, it's a huge school that is on a pedestal, that they're the top dog, that everybody goes there. That's the kids that want to go, leave after a year and the whole bit. Unbelievable program, good school, but you're like, I don't want that environment. An underdog environment where everybody kind of not there yet. Well, what an opportunity, knowing you're going to get more playing time, you're going to integrate in this to be there. So the loyalty part was logic to going boom. The bigger loyalty part, which I mean, literally, I had media people call me the stupidest guy on the planet when after the first year when they went to the national championship and Cale got asked to play for the Olympics, Team Canada Olympics, and he said no. Well, we're you know, Canadians. How dare say no to that? Well, you just played in the World Juniors. You were arguably the best guy, and you got the least ice time of any defenseman, and you scored the most points. You got elected as this, and you might go play the power play there, but you're in school with a team that's trying to do some stuff. And he's like, well, that's my team. That's not my team. I'll get my shot. We were right through the coals. You would have looked at social media and said, how, my God, Makar, traitor to Canada, the whole bit. Well, it's kind of turned around a bit since then, Dave, but because we had a plan, but because of development, because that's where I should be. So back to, before I was so rudely interrupted, but back to Mr. Sackett, great, Cale, come on, we're getting our system with the Eagles, you're gonna, then he goes, oh, Mr. Sackett, I'm not ready. I know I had a good season, but I'm not ready, man. I gained 8 pounds, but I got way more. Well, come on, Cale, we can get you in the system. And it was unbelievable on the phone. He's like, Mr. Zaki, stay with us, because we're going to have a good team and it's going to be a big year. And then Joe, great human being. Yep, I get it. Well, that next year, all of a sudden, because he made a promise, he said, I'm going to get better. So I'm going to show you guys, well, my God, he probably gained 15 pounds in the weight room, because that's the benefit of college hockey, playing against men in competition. And yet, in there, wins the Hobie Baker, rips it up the whole bit, and it's unbelievable. They lose out in that in the final game in the thing, and we knew he would sign pro. And this was the most amazing thing. He's like, right after that, they lose and stuff, totally emotional. I asked them to put the jersey on, and it's like, get down to Denver, you know, hang out with the guys in practice and stuff. Hey, that's pretty cool. Now you signed your contract, signing bonus, you go down there to hang for the playoffs. Laura and I are still in Buffalo. Joe, he's playing tomorrow. Well, then, what? He's playing. He had one practice. Well, we get into there and we're like, okay, we arrive a half an hour of the game. Hilarious story, the whole bit. Sit down and stuff, and then he scores his first goal. Unbelievable moment. Well, after the game, like you're just sitting on the wall like this, like, I can't believe what's going on here. And you say, buddy, like, how was that? And he goes, how? That was way easier than the Frozen Four. Well, everybody was trying to kill him in the Frozen Four because he was the man. He had 24, 25-year-old kids on him. And everybody at that level thinks hockey better. The whole bit, they're where they're at. And he goes, well, I had no problem adjusting. Well, If he hadn't stayed that extra year for that experience that he was ready, he wouldn't have been ready. And that's why I'm such a massive advocate of college hockey. And you get all these great players lighting it up in the dub and everything like that. But you're playing against 17, 16, 18-year-olds. They're not men. So to me, this change in the rules to align development is a godsend. It's absolute chaos, and it will be. But it's back to the root of it. Play where you are, because it is not a horse race. It is not. You'll get there if you get there. Taylor, my son, who's developing, is 24, big forward, 6'4", huge guy, big wrist injury now, but he'll get there. And his mindset, he wanted to go to UMass for the first year. I said, Taylor, are you sure? You walk into UMass, there's a 30-foot picture of Cale Makar flying over like Bobby Orr, a goal he scored against Vermont. There's a whole big paper picture. Taylor's like, I don't care. That's him. I'm me. Because of his mindset, I'm going to develop in a spot. So it all comes back to that, but this adversity, and Taylor, over and over and over again, more adversity, and it's like, what are you going to do about it, buddy? But that's what you kids have to do. So these setbacks, if I wanted to be on the 1 and I make the 2, get mad, cry, kick things, throw things, and then leave it. Now what are you going to do? And what are your parents going to do? All my friends are there. Well, you got new friends. You got a whole new team that's there to play with you. Take that as a reframe, as a challenge to say, I'm there for now. Doesn't stop you from wanting to get better for the league, but it's back to what I said with the parents. Why do you want to make the 1 team? Let's get real with yourself. Oh, I want that AAA jacket or whatnot. If my kid doesn't, what does that do? I don't care what it gives to you. What does it do to the kid? You figure it out, but it's that snapshot in time where if that doesn't motivate you of what you want, and if you don't want to get better in the teams, that's fine too. But that's where you decide on how far you want to go with the effort you put up. So magic, like what happened, Cale? No magic. Hard work, the proper mindset that crap happens. I'm betting on myself. I look in the mirror and do it. And is it a secret sauce? Not really. And there's no guarantees ever. But the system now for people in hockey, if you are trying to get to elite hockey in some way, shape, or form, you couldn't be at a better time, because everybody at any school, at every junior team, and you can watch a kid from St. Albert if he wants in 2 seconds with live bar on the whole bit. Wasn't available when my kids were there. Every scout everywhere has access to that stuff. And when he says they're watching, they're watching. I'll give a funny story just at the highest levels. When you get your kids that are being interviewed for NHL drafts and stuff, I can't tell you how many guys that I had. Hey, Makar, I got a friend from business or something. I got a call from a guy from Nashville Predators asking about you. Because they're checking, because they know if the parents are psycho wingnuts, the apple probably doesn't fall from the tree. And talk about the agents and good agents that understand that. So this is where it's right back on. Your behavior is being watched out there. And I'm telling you, I've seen my share of psychos and stuff. And if you want to play that game and do it, somebody's going to see that and report it. And you can't escape that now, because it just will hang over the head and you're doing your kids a disservice. It's all out of love. You want the best. Guys, trust the process that it goes through. But when your kids are feeling bad, talk to them, find out why. Don't say you were ripped off or the excuse, even if you were. Why are you feeling that way, Jack? Let's talk about it. Help them out, do that stuff. And that's unfortunately the relationship with our guys is just, shit is going to happen. How are we going to deal with it? So it's fun that way. But yeah, setbacks galore, but that's where that first book mindset there, that Carol Dweck legend has set that growth and fixed. I had their back page, which is a chart, fixing growth, the differences on the kid's wall at 6 years old. I can even read it every day. What does it mean? And everything, I just got to deal with adversity. That's my job, setting the stage on it. So look at those, because there are guides out there that are fun. I have to tell my funny Canmore Eagles story, okay? After Andrew's funny saving Cale's career. My funnest thing, honestly, sitting right down here was hilarious. At the old red seats that stuck in your bum with those wires and stuff like that. And it's a face-off in this end, and Cale's playing, he's right deep, but he's on this side. And I'm thinking, Andrew, you can tell me wrong, but he's already, oh shit, this kid's good. So this big, huge guy lines up against him. So Cale's here, this big guy. And I'm like 4 seats in there. And this big guy is like bashing Cale like this and stuff like that. Just hitting him hard, and you can see him talking. And they're down like this, and you see Cale say something, and this guy just bang, hammers Cale. Gets a penalty. I think Cale scored in the power play. And I'm going, okay, buddy, you're gonna get killed. So after the game, this is the fun part. The kids will love this. and I don't condone this at all, but you guys know chirping in hockey, okay? Well, with my kids, right or wrong, I told them, guys, if I ever hear you chirp and swear at somebody, I will pull you from the game as a coach. Because if you're gonna chirp, which isn't good, but it's part of the game, if you're gonna chirp, the point of a chirping is to have a guy think about something else to get him off his game. And any idiot can give you an F word or expletive. So I said, junior hockey is part of the culture. If you're gonna chirp, it better be something that gets under a guy's skin in a good way that's gonna do for you. So his little thing here, what did you do there, buddy? And he is so proud of himself. Oh, Dad, you're gonna love this one. So you know that guy, he's like slashing me, he's hacking me the whole bit. He's going, you wanna go? You wanna go? You wanna go? And he goes, Dad, I said, why would I go with you? I'd just be wasting my time, but haven't you wasted enough time in this league as a 20-year-old? Well, I said, world-class chirp like that, not good, but I said, buddy, if it's part of it, that's the type that you do, because what it did, that guy got so mad, took a penalty, and broke my wrist. So didn't even need a broken wrist for that, eh? So fun. So yeah, that's it's you know, moral of the story is our responsibility here, guys, to make it understand the role that mindset plays in it, because like those things like Dallas Eakins, all the skills and stuff like that, absolute exceptions. You can be a moron hockey player that doesn't get it with skill, but you're not going to go as far as the thinking guy that stops and reflects on what he's doing and tries to make himself better. And whose responsibility and privilege is that? Ours. Cool.
Okay, so I think we're gonna conclude there. First off, thank you, Gary, Andrew, Kevin, for your thoughts and your perspective. Super appreciate it. We're so lucky to have these people come and talk to us about all the knowledge that they have. Thank you to you guys for coming out here, kids for coming out as well. We really appreciate it. Now you know who the board is. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to us on the website. You can reach out to us at the rink. We're going to be around for evaluations. If you have any questions, please come by and have a chat. Before we conclude, Mike wanted to say one quick thing. Yeah.
So the ultimate goal when we talk about minor hockey is that we do all of this stuff all year, and play games all year, and everybody's like, how was your season? And how we judge our season isn't on how many banners we hang up, how many goals somebody scored, how many positive things we get in our surveys. We judge our season and our success on how many players come back and play next year. And that's ultimately why we're here. We want every player to have such an amazing experience this year that when the season's done, they're a little sad it's over, you know, we're going to baseball, but they're like, when's hockey? So we literally drive to make sure that our goal is that every player that plays this year comes back next year and wants to keep going, right? And then we eventually want to get them to play beer league hockey against Kevin.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Chris, it was awesome. Everybody, thanks for your valuable time tonight.
Thank you, guys.